Okay, so we have the word gratitude. This is one that I did that's more of a garden thing because I was thinking, what am I grateful for? And I love gardening and I love flowers. So um, I just wrote out the word, and I'll show you in a minute for real, but I'm just going to kind of basically go over what I did. I just wrote with my pen the letters, and then I filled them in a little bit, made them a little thicker, and then I started doing the drawing of each of these things. And I was just trying to think, what does each letter look like the dot on the I. You can make a flower out of that, or do all kinds of things with that. And these are fish, by the way. So what we'll do is I'll get my pen, and we will go ahead and write out the word gratitude. I'm going to move this over a little bit. Now I'm just going to put mine about in the center of the page. And let me move this over just a little bit so you can see it. And I'm just going to do it freehand. I'm not going to worry about how close together the letters are. Just doing my little T, my I, and another T. And they don't have to be the same length or anything. They don't have to be straight. So if yours ends a little bit over here, that's okay. Now then I go back and I just kind of start filling it in a little bit like this to make them thicker so that we can draw and color inside. Now I'm left-handed, so my letters are going to be a little slanted here, and it doesn't matter how your lines may go. Now I'm just going to fill this in a little bit and just kind of draw it like that. Like I said, because we're going to color this stuff in, it doesn't really matter. Might make that just a little bit thicker. If one is taller than the other, because we're going to be making them into something, it doesn't matter what you do. So I'm just filling this in. And then I think I'm going to just bring my E up a little bit here. There you go. So that's just your rough drawing of that. Now, some things that I decided to do was to make this into a beach thing, because I was thinking, okay, before here I was grateful for flowers in the garden, so I made all those into some type of something you would see in the garden. So let's make this into something that we would see at the beach, because being outside and going to the beach is something that you would be grateful for. So while you're at the beach or wherever you're at, you want to look around and be thankful for the sunshine and the sand and the beautiful water and all of those kinds of things. So practice gratitude wherever you are. And so for the first part, I'm going to just start with my blue. And I'm just going to bring this kind of down, and I'm just going to bring like a little curlicue here, just to make it a little more decorative. And then this is kind of a violet blue. And I'm just going to start off with the lighter colors, because then you can always go back and fill it in with your darker colors. But you can't do it the other way around. So I've just traced it a little bit, and I wanted to put some little sea creatures in here. And I was thinking something at the top, or maybe over here. Just draw like a little jellyfish and just make its little tentacles come down. Or it could be an octopus, something like that. And maybe put some little fish over here. I'm going to do pink fish, but you could make your fish whatever color you would like them to. Make them kind of swim around a little bit. And then I'm going to get a different color, like maybe the little orange here, and I could go over my fish a little bit with that. But I'm just going to make like a little star here and make a little starfish as well. Just making a little starfish there. And then with the blue, I'm going to make some waves up here. Just make some little jagged waves. And I think I'm going to do that on top here too. Just make some little jagged waves. And fill that in. And I'm just going to kind of fill it in around my little sea creature here, my little jellyfish. And maybe around my little starfish also. Just fill it in with the blue, the water. Now, these are just, they're kind of small, so it's hard to tell exactly what they are. But that's okay. We're just kind of making an impression here. And then I'm going to go back with my darker blue, or this is actually a green, a peacock green, and go over my little waves again. And then I'm just going to go over it with this a little bit because that's not showing up that well. And then just kind of trace that again with the darker color. And even may go over that way a little bit more with the water. And you just keep adding until it looks the way you would like it to look. I might add a little bit more wave in that. And you could even make some waves up on top if you wanted to. But we don't want to do too much. We still want to be able to tell that that's a G. That even kind of looks like a sea creature almost, doesn't it? Okay, and for the R, I might just fill it in with the blue. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with the R. So I'm just going to fill it in a little bit while I have this blue. And I tend to do that. When I have a marker open, I will just continue to use it. So I'm going to leave the R. You don't have to, if you can't figure out what you want to do with it, you can move on to the next letter. What I thought this looked like was a life preserver, that you would see at the lifeguard station. So it usually just has like some little stripes on it. So I'm going to fill that in a little bit. And then just make this kind of a solid here. Now I'm using my chisel. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. Just going to go around with that a little bit and line it up a little bit more, make it bigger there. Okay. So, and I'll come back and go over the outline with that too. Now with the T's, with this one, I made it kind of skinny, and I'm going to go over it with just this brown a little bit. I'm going to make this into a beach umbrella. And you notice that one side is bigger than the other, so you can always correct this with your color. The beach umbrella wouldn't have this on it, but you've got to have it for your T for it to look actually like your letter. And I'm going to go ahead and use my brown for this too. I'm going to leave a little space here and here, because this is going to look like one of the pilings that you would tie your boat up with. So I'm leaving the blank space in there to come back and use do I want a darker color or do I want a gray? I think I want a gray for that, to maybe look like the rope that you would have around there that you would tie your boat up with. And so I'm going to make it a little bit on the outside here because the rope would be tied around it. So that looks like the little piling that you're going to tie your boat up with. Okay. And so because this is going to be a beach umbrella, a lot of them are red or blue. And I'm going to have blue a lot of other places, so I'm going to use the red. And I'm just going to draw a line across it. And then just bring it up like a little oval. And they usually have like a little peak of some kind on them. So I'm going to put the little peak up there and bring it down. And they usually have like a little fancy thing there. Let me bring this down so you can see it a little better. There we go. And then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to go like this because this is circular. You want it to go like that. And we're going to do that on the other side. And then we're just going to go straight down. And so that gives you that shape for your, and I might just fill that in there. And then, I don't know, let's go ahead and fill this in too. And then we're going to come back because these markers dry pretty well, but I always like to give them just a little bit of time to dry. So there's your umbrella. And I think we could probably put a beach ball there for your eye. Let me use the other side. So let's take and make our beach ball here. Just do like some little stripes there. It kind of filled in a little bit, didn't it? So I'm just going to go ahead and make it solid. Now for over here, get your brown out and let's do a, make this into like a sandcastle. So what we're going to do is we will draw a line across it and bring your lines up. And then we're just going to like make little triangles or rectangles here. This is how your sandcastle would look. And so that's what it's going to look like. It doesn't have to be very straight or anything because, you know, it's made out of sand. So we can just go ahead and fill that in. And I'm just using my little chisel part here to fill that in. And that's part of that. And then I'm just going to bring it down. Now because we got this part, we can make it look like up here as well. We can just do some rectangles. And this is what I like about the chisel. See, it's all I have to do is just basically that, and it's making that rectangle for me. So we're going to come back with a little darker color and go around this a little bit. I'll go ahead and fill that in the rest of the way. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to just bring this around and make a little sandy area here. Because even though you're doing basically the word, you still want to, you know, make your whole area into something creative. Okay, so we can bring a darker brown here. So when you go to the beach and you start thinking about what you're grateful for there, and do that wherever you go. Just be grateful for everything that you can see, because when you are visualizing that, and even if you say it out loud, that even helps to say things out loud. What it does is it increases your self-esteem when you're focusing on something positive. And also, when it actually improves your physical health. That grateful people experience fewer aches and pains. They have lower blood pressures. They have better heart health and improved sleep quality. And some people even find that they have more energy when they're being more grateful. So if you're feeling a little tired or you're having some aches and pains, just go outside if you can, or at least just kind of visualize an outside place like a beach, like what we're creating here. And think of some positive things that you are grateful for. And that will improve your mental outlook and your overall physical health as well. because it will decrease feelings of depression and stress. And it will train your brain to actually spot good things. So when you start showing gratitude in those ways, it can just make all kinds of improvements to your mental and physical health, which is pretty awesome. So I'm just going to kind of go over some of this with the darker brown. Some of mine are starting to dry up a little bit. I've just used them so much. So I'm going to need a darker brown here. Because I have these little lines here and I don't like that, so I'm going to cover that up and then just outline these a little bit. And you'll notice I am just having fun here. I am not interested in making this perfect. So yeah, I think I'm going to just kind of outline these a little bit in the darker also. Give it a little bit of dimension there. A little bit of dimension. There we go. So there we have a pretty decent sandcastle. It's pretty tall. So, and I'm just gonna draw little things in the sand, just little wavy lines in the sand here. Okay. So now our U. I was thinking of making some fish in it like I did with this, you know, just kind of take the U and make a little pond of fish there. So let's see, let's start with a lighter blue. And I'm going to just make some little water in it and fill that in. Fill the U part in. I think I might just bring the water all the way down. And let's see, here's my orange to make our fish. You just make a little dot and then you just can take 2 lines out there. And I'm going to face the other one this way. And I'll like a little dot and do some there. And you can make some little fins on top and the bottom if you like. And I am going to come back with a different color. I just want to take, like I've got a dark purple here, and you can just make a dot for your eye. And you can even, you know, make some little tails there, make their little tails prettier too, if you'd like. And I think I'm going to use this purple also to kind of fill this in a little bit and kind of outline it a little bit because I still want it to look like the letter that it is, so that you can still tell, even with all your artwork on here, you can still tell that this is the word gratitude. You know, what if I could, I'm trying to make something with the beach ball. Okay, for our D, it kind of looks like a, I'm going to bring it down with the brown. Looks a little bit like a lounge chair to me, so I'm going to just sort of fill that in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You can sit right here. And then we're going to do something fun on top. I like to do fun things on top of the letters. Let's just do like a little U like that and make a little boat on top. Like the boat was just kind of floating around and then all of a sudden it found it was capsized. So let's see, we could fill that in with red, a red sail. And then a little flag on top. And I'm going to take the darker color also, kind of just outline that a little bit. And then put my mast right there. And there's your boat. And we do need to go over this line with a little bit of a darker color. Let's see what we have. I've got a blue-gray here. So you just use whatever colors you have. You can go over that just to cover up those ink marks. And I might just bring some more lines down there just to give that a little more of a decorative look. Now for the E, I kept thinking that was going to look like a little sea monster there. So I'm going to start with a lighter green and just kind of color it in a little bit. And then I'm going to come back with a darker color. That this just kind of looked like the eye of the sea monster here. So I'm just going to fill this all in. Then we'll come back with a darker green. Where's my darker green? Here it is. So I'm going to make this center look a little bit more like an eye. And then if we want it to look like scales, we can just kind of do some X's in there to make it look a little bit like scales. And I'm going to go outside a little bit here because I made that a little thin. And we'll just do that. And then we can just outline it a little bit. Now, if you run into the other letters, that's fine because I like that actually. It, creates a nice little pattern, I think. And so then we're just going to kind of fill this in a little bit. There we go. Maybe sharpen that tail a little bit. There we go. So there's our sea monster. And then this, I'm just going to kind of make some waves on it. So I'm not quite sure what to do with it. And then I'm just going to kind of trace this. Just a little bit, just outline it. Make it look a little bit more like what it is there. And then I might just kind of do a little bit with this too. It just seemed like that red needs a little something here. I'm just going to create that up, get that up to the top there. And so there is your gratitude. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed making your doodle artwork. We'll do some other words in another lesson. But you could also, if you want to continue on, just make yourself some starfish. Or also just do some ovals and make some little shells. If you want to do a scallop, just make a little square there and do some other things if you want to continue on. So until the next time, stay awesome.